Hi, I'm Jenny. The month of May for 2023 invites us to cultivate joy and is going to be a calm breath of fresh air. If you've never listened to a channeled message before, I invite you to put in headphones or earbuds, take a deep breath, close your eyes, and listen to the message in that way so that you can gain your own insight, perspective, see if images come to you, and just really let it kind of soak in. And then after I read the message, I'll go over how I perceive it and what my interpretation is. May brings a shift, a planetary shift, a shift in the cosmos, a shift of settling, groundedness, of ease. There's been so much change. It's been tumultuous. It's been hard for many, a strain for many. But May is like a breath of fresh air, a gentle breeze that brings in some calm. It's time for everyone to find what gives them joy. Joy is different than temporary happiness, or the feeling you get when you get something new, or receive a gift, or something goes your way. That is temporary happiness. Joy is deep. Joy comes from within, not from without. You cannot give it to someone else. What brings you joy? Playing, creating, being outside in nature, being with others who are like-minded or loved ones, listening to your favorite music, being in or near water, praying, meditating, working with your hands. These are paths to joy for many. May invites you to cultivate joy, to choose your path to joy. We want to see you joyful. When you are joyful, your light emanates so far and so vast. It heals you and all those around you. Joy lifts the entire web of humanity. It is not selfish to cultivate joy. It is your purpose. Ask yourself, how can I cultivate joy? How can I make my joy a priority? What brings me joy? So the month of May is already here, which is amazing. And May 1st is a pagan holiday on the witch's wheel called Beltane, and also known as May Day. So April 30th to May 1st is this Beltane celebration, which on the wheel of the year is direct opposite of Samhain or Halloween. And at Halloween, we often feel this kind of liminal space. We feel in between. We feel like magic in the air, and we feel excited. I know I do. And that's because the veil between the worlds is thinnest, right? The worlds of mythical or magical or mystical, as well as the living and the dead. So there's this opportunity in both Samhain and Beltane to really connect to spirit guides, ancestors. I've just started working with dragons through Diana Cooper. I actually picked up her oracle deck because my son loves dragons so much. And then my birthday just passed and I asked him to pick out a crystal skull dragon. So I'll be working with that, and I'm taking a Diana Cooper class with dragons and learning who, my spirit dragon is. Like, everyone has a spirit guardian angel. And it's, something I just never even thought of. Like, to me, dragons were just mythical beasts. But then really learning about it with my son, they're in every culture, and there's all these stories, from all over the world. And I always say when myths line up or stories line up all over the world, there must be a common truth, right? A common thread. So he's been really interested in dragons, so it's kind of new for me. It's a good time to work with like unicorns, dragons, if that's what you believe in, fairies, or also known as good neighbors, talk to loved ones. This is this liminal magical space. Whereas in Samhain or autumn time, we're kind of going within, maybe looking at our past. We're looking deep into ancestry, healing those kinds of wounds. May has us more looking forward, right? Because we're more in that spring mindset. Flowers are blooming, trees are blooming. It's like we're looking ahead. And so May is a good time, if you do divination, to look into the future, to look into, what's holding you back now for your future, to plant seeds, all of those things for manifesting. And what's interesting is we have a full moon on the 5th, so that will be what's called a lunar Beltane. So the Beltane celebration can go all the way till then. And this full moon is in Scorpio, and Scorpio really brings out a lot of like our inner secrets and past, and it's also an eclipse. And as I talked about before, eclipse energy is like very intense, but very healing. So this kind of first week of May, there's a lot going on. And I think, they talk about that, and it brings a shift, a planetary shift, a shift in the cosmos. That's what this is. There's this big kind of shift. After this eclipse, there should be like a real settling and a real calm, and people should be able to kind of find a flow. I call it like finding a slipstream, right? And like the water and just kind of like going with the flow. And so that all really lines up with this message. And, if you're into astrology, great. If you're thinking dragons, really, whatever. To each his own. The spiritual path is very unique. But May is a time to cultivate joy, right? What makes you happy beyond the moment? So that's kind of what they're talking about in here, right? It's like you get a gift or something goes your way. That's temporary happiness, right? That's that kind of consumerism culture that we in America are trained to be in, right? With commercials and always biggering and getting more and keeping up with the Joneses, all those kinds of things. That's just temporary happiness. And when we're on the spiritual path, we start to see the difference, right? I have a cat here. I got it. Okay. So it's like, we have this temporary happiness of like eating the chocolate bar. But then later it's like we don't feel so good, because as you get on the spiritual path, I don't know if you've noticed, but your tolerance for food that maybe isn't great for you isn't as high as it used to be, right? Like you can't drink as much alcohol, or you can't eat as heavy foods. So I've kind of stick to dark chocolate and have like a couple squares a day. But that's temporary happiness that maybe later doesn't make you feel good anymore. Like younger people go out and binge drink and it's like super fun and happy, but then the next morning that happiness is definitely gone. Some choices were made that maybe weren't the best. Those are temporary happiness, right? Happy for that moment, and it usually comes from an external source, comes from a thing or another person, or I never want anybody to feel responsible for my happiness. So I don't like say to my family, like, oh, you make me so happy, because that puts this like pressure on them, like, oh, I'm responsible for that. Like, so I never say that to my kids. So I just like, I'm so happy to be with you, or I feel happy when I'm with you. So it's like watching that way we phrase it. So that's temporary, right? Happiness comes from out here. Joy is something this is my goal ever since I've been on a spiritual path, is to understand how I cultivate joy, because I know joy comes from within. And so for me, I have been focusing on playing this month, or this year. That was my word for the year, is play. And I'll be honest, I haven't really been like, that's hard for me. It's been really hard for me. Even though I have kids, it's hard to play. What does play mean as an adult? And now that the weather is warmer and the sun is out, play has been, outside in nature, in the garden, going for walks. That's the best kind of play for me. And that definitely cultivates joy. My birthday just came up, and I spent the day sort of meditative. It was the first day where it was really warm and sunny here in the PNW. And I dropped everybody off at school, and I came home and I went for a hike on my own. I have a friend named Nicole, and she was saying how her therapist prescribed alone time in nature. And I thought, that's so good, that's so beautiful. So I took that idea and I hiked alone. I kept seeing bumblebees everywhere, and then later I received a bumblebee statue as a gift, so definitely feeling there's some messaging there for me about not being such a busy bee and taking the time to smell the flowers. So I had this really nice hike, and then I came home and I did yoga with Adrian's birthday yoga. This has been my tradition for a long time now. And then I just let myself be. Just let myself sit in the sunshine and relax until it's time to pick up my son. And he gets out early on Wednesday. So it was very indulgent, and it cultivated joy. I felt so peaceful. And I realized, in that moment, it's like this, we know this theoretically, that we are responsible, for our emotions. Like, other people can trigger us and kind of derail us, but in the end, it's like we're responsible for how we react and how we feel. But in that moment, I realized, like, I really put so much into myself that morning. Like, I really put a lot into my cup. Like, I did my birthday ritual, lit my candles. I filled me up. And then the next day I met a friend for tea, and that really filled my cup. So how do we cultivate joy? And how do we do it? It may not be something you can do every day. You know, just being truthful, if you work full time, or, you know, and you're a parent, or you're taking care, you're a caretaker for, you know, an elderly family member or whatever, sometimes it's hard to make space for you every day, but at least once a week or 5 minutes, you know, maybe your shower becomes more indulgent. I take essential oils and I put a few drops in the shower, and then I've been using like different body scrubs. I take crystals in the shower because I don't do baths, and you know, we have kind of a small bathtub. It's not enjoyable. And so that's kind of become a way to cultivate joy. So there's all these opportunities really all around us. You know, a lot of times people say, well, I don't really have time, but then they'll be on their phone. Instead of being on your phone, can you close your eyes for 5 minutes and take some deep breaths? That might cultivate joy. So I like the questions. I'll have them in the comments for you. How can I cultivate joy? I think I'm going to personally take that question and make a list. Now, these are things that I know build joy up into my system, make me feel joy. How can I make my joy a priority? Depending on where you are, what season of life you're in, it's difficult. And so, but remember, this path isn't selfish. I talk about that on here. When you feel joyful, it emanates to everybody around you, all your, you know, your lineage, your neighbors, the people you come in contact with. You spread your light everywhere when you are filled up. I just talked to someone, I'm sure you're watching this, you know who you are, about the importance of quiet time and solitude when you're on this path. You know, I feel very lucky that I get to stay home and have hours of solitude and quiet. It makes it so that I can give more. I can be of service. And so that, to me, that's a way of cultivating joy, just having quiet time, because, you know, it's busy being a mother and a wife. And so it's not selfish. You know, that's really, I think, like the battle for a lot of people on a spiritual path, because you have a good heart. You're a good person. You're caring. You want to help change the world. You have all of these wonderful ambitions, but it's got to get returned to you. So how can some of that come back to you? How can you cultivate joy? What a beautiful message. I'm looking forward to some calm in May. I don't know about you. Sounds really, really nice. And I'd love to hear your ideas, like how you're going to cultivate joy, or just things that fill your cup, because it's the same thing. I would like to know. We can just get like maybe a list going in the comments, and maybe you might spark somebody else's idea and get them going on a path, which would be really nice. I appreciate everybody that watches. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe. I will be doing a separate video later in the month with a card reading. I've been enjoying doing the card reading, so I thought I'll do the messages in just one video. We'll do card reading separate. So I'm hoping to get that out before this eclipse on the 5th. So may you have a beautiful May.